Hi, this is Ron Nutter, and this is another edition of Tech Bites with Ron Nutter. And this time I'm going to walk you through setting up a guest network and showing you what it looks like inside one of the potential routers you may be using. And that starts now. We've talked a little bit in the past on this is part of the ongoing case study of the 3 dumb routers, and I'm going to switch over to the drawing. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, you can see the drawing I'm talking about if you go to the YouTube channel and look for the video by this same name. So the drawing we've got up here, we've got the internet going through the rat trap device, going to the core router, which is the point where everything else in your IoT and home network connects. Now, the guest network can either be a part of the secure network router, or you can put it on the IoT network. There's any number of ways that you can do this, and you can even go, and we'll talk about this again when I switch over to the demo laptop, about hanging yet a third router, or fourth router in this point, directly off of the core router if you want to keep it separate. There's no right or wrong way to do it. But let's go ahead and cut over to the video where I'll be talking about how to set this up, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, now that we switched over to a computer where I can get access to the router where we're going to do the guest network on, in this case, this is on a TP.link, and we switch over here to the tab from Amazon. It's a TP.link AC1750. Now, this is out of the Archer A7 series, and this is specifically the version 5 hardware. Now, that's important to note because any of the earlier versions may not have the support. In fact, I've got an earlier version of the 1750, and it shows no signs of being able to do it. Now, one of the things where you'll notice the difference is that you have to have a TP.link cloud account. Now, there are several routers that have this functionality. So, for more than just TP.link, and they have different levels of control. But the interesting thing is, we'll see that here in just a minute. I don't want to spoil all the fun. Okay, now I'm already logged in to the TP.link router, and I'm on the Advanced tab. Now we'll go down here to Guest Network. Now, there's a couple of things we need to talk about. First, deciding whether you want to have 2.4 or 5 gigahertz or both, and you may want to have both. It just depends on the devices. Now, I would encourage you to use something other than the default name, because even though this is for temporary guest access, you don't want to advertise anything about the location, your address, anything that could be directly identifiable to you. So change both the names. I would suggest doing an SSID or network name that is distinct or unique, depending on the verb you want to use, for both the 2.4 and the 5 gig range, because there are some devices that should automatically go to 5 gig. It's available, but you may have others that may have a problem, may be on the extreme edge of it, and will try to get into the 5 gig side and just don't have a good enough signal. And at least this way, with having a different name for the 2.4 version of the guest network versus the 5 gig, you make it a little bit easier to troubleshoot. Now, the next thing to look at is whether you want to have no security or WPA2. No security, anything they do that is not encrypted is going to be shown to the outside world. So that's kind of a personal decision, but you definitely probably should think about security. And at that point, go ahead and do the WPA2. Now, of the two, unless there is an extenuating circumstance, I would not use WPA because it could be compromised, and most of the devices made easily within the last 3 to 4 years should support WPA2. As to the encryption, I would definitely go AES. It's a little bit stronger, and it still comes down to making it just hard enough so that somebody who's doing, well, they used to call it war driving, where you would try to jump onto somebody's network without their permission. I don't know if that's still the big thing. It used to be anymore, but you want to protect yourselves as best you can. Now, to the password, have something that is easy for them to enter, because having something that's uppercase, lowercase, numbers, punctuation is probably going to be a little bit more than they may want to fool with. But I would certainly do something. You've got to do something that's at least 8 characters long. So, say, one capital letter, the rest can be lowercase, and 1 or 2 numbers is not going to be that hard to enter. As a side note, I would suggest not to leave the guest network enabled unless you've got somebody over it, because typically this is going to be, a less, not hard password, but it's going to be an easier to guess password, and you just don't need to advertise it as a general rule. So I would leave it disabled if at all possible. Now, there are 2 settings you see here on the TP.link router. One allows guests to see each other, and the other one allows guests to access the local network. I would say at a minimum if you can set both of these, then do so, because that gives them a path to the internet, and they won't see anybody else on the local side. Now, if you're doing some sort of multi-player game, then you're probably gonna have to allow them to see each other. Otherwise, they'll just be, playing in some sort of solo mode. Now, if you are coming on your laptop that's on your home network, I would suggest switch over to the guest network while you're playing this game, or while you've got the multiple people who need to see each other. Because if not, then you'll need to uncheck the option to to check it. You'll need to check it to allow guest access to your local network. And by checking this, you're kind of undoing the main reason that you set up a guest network. So that, just some things you need to think about. It may take a little bit of experimentation. Now, to turn on the guest networks, it's just a matter of enabling the 2.4, clicking save, of course you'll need to enter a password, and doing the same thing for the 5 gig site. Now, once you've got all this set up, now here's where we get to add some of the secret sauce. By specifically going to the Archer A7, and as you see down here, I've got the version 5 hardware. So this is up and running. This works. You'll want to go over to your Alexa portal page, which is alexa.amazon.com, and the step-by-step to do this is in the show notes. It's basically, you'll search for the TP.link router skill and make sure that it's authored by TP.link. You will enter your cloud username and password, which is what you use to get into the AC 1750 A7 version 5. Say that 3 times and keep a straight face. You'll link Amazon Alexa to that, and there are several good links. I've got those again in the show notes. What this lets you do is, well, dazzle your friends, if nothing else, because now you can go, Alexa, enable guest, ask TP.link to enable guest network. And without touching anything, guest network comes up. When you get ready to turn it off, just say, Alexa, ask TP.link to disable guest network. Now, the granularity in terms of controlling the guest network pretty much stops at that point. You can enable just the 2.5 or the 5 gig network. It's going to turn on both. So it's probably, I may be worrying much about nothing, but if you don't need one, then why enable it? But unfortunately, the Alexa skill at this point doesn't have that level of granularity. And I see down here it says Archer A7 version 5 coming soon. I don't think they've updated their page because, as you can see, I've got the Archer A7 V5. Now, there are different routers out there, and I'm trying to get a hold of one from a different manufacturer right now that allow you to do other things, such as doing speed tests, doing, other functions within the router. But from a gee whiz factor to, impress your friends, you can have the guest network piece all ready to go, and just when they start walking in, just see how their jaws drop, and when you turn on the guest network, and it's a case of when you first learned to ride a two-wheel bicycle and said, look, Bon, no hands. Well, look, Bon, no hands, that I just enabled the guest network. So it's something different. But again, when you're getting ready to do this, go down to System Tools. You want to look at Firmware Upgrade and do a check for upgrade to make sure that you have the latest code installed. And again, mine's still the current code, and this was for at least the A7 1760 version 5. It's the last one they did was in April of 2018. So it just doesn't hurt to, anytime you go to make a change, to enable that. Now, if you are using Alexa control of your guest network and you already had, say, this page up for some reason, you will not see the check mark go in as soon as you've enabled the guest network. You will have to refresh the page, and then you will see the check mark automatically there, and you have not had to physically touch it. So that is a way to verify that the guest network is up and running. So from a guest network standpoint, the TP.link AC1750, out of the Archer A7 series, in my case, version 5 hardware. And you can see right now, that at least at the day I'm recording this, there is a $10 coupon, which takes us $69 down to $59. And depending on what you find when Amazon has a Prime Day, if you happen to be a Prime member, then you might be able to even chisel a few more dollars off of that. So this is just another way where you can win friends, influence people to show them that, you can turn on a guest network and you don't have to get into the computer. You don't have to go to the page, and they don't have to know the password to the router other than the password for the guest SSID. So really, this is pretty much all there is to it. I was initially going to do two separate videos. I said, no, let's do it all in one. The guest network is something that is good to consider having because you need to protect your home network. Now, something to think about is where to locate this. Do you hang it off of the secured router or the one that your computers and laptops are on, or do you hang it off of the IoT router? Well, that's going to be a judgment call. I would probably, as an additional layer of protection, put it on the secured router. That way you're not putting anything potentially at risk because of a firmware bug or memory leak that you're exposing any of your IoT devices to the guest network users. Another option, although now we would be getting into a 4-router configuration, is to look at plugging a dedicated router directly into the core router, and that would be nothing but guest network. So it's all things to consider, but really this is pretty straightforward. And the 1750, I've been running it now for several weeks. It simply does what it says it will do, and I've had no problems with it at all. So it's a worthy option to consider. And like I said, I hope to have a router from another manufacturer on shortly. So that's the demo for this time.
Well, and as you can see, there's more than one way to skin a cat. You've seen the TP.link. There are a list, and it is growing. A lot of it's going to be, there has to be a hardware component, I believe, added to the router so that it knows how to support Alexa the way it should, or at least a significant software chunk. But it's a matter of how far you want to do it. And if you've got any questions, please reach out to me. I want to make sure that I can do whatever I can to help you in this process. And there's more videos yet to come. At any given time, I've got at least 150 on my list, and it seems like I keep adding more all the time. And I hope to be soon releasing an audio version of this, so that if you're not able to watch this during the day and you've got a significant drive, that you'll at least be able to get kind of the general gist of things, and you can go back and see the videos a little bit later. As with some of the other things we've done, I think by now, if you've been seeing some of the other videos, you have heard that I do have the first volume of the book out. I'm already working on volume 2. This is very much going to be an ongoing series because so much happened at CES in 2018 that we're just at the very early stages of the potential for everything happening, because Amazon's already got a Kindle or Fire tablet out that has Alexa built in. So we're going to keep seeing more and more of this kind of thing. You've seen me talk about the Roab Viva. And so essentially it gives you Alexa in your car, regardless of, the kind of car you have. I think the only thing that is, it doesn't need, it needs Bluetooth to talk to the stereo, but there's ways you can get around that, but it Bluetooths to the phone to get out to the internet. Anyway, I ramble on. So this book is already out. You're going to see me continuing to produce videos because there's more content coming all the time. And I've been working with some of this technology for several years, and just what's starting to come out this year is really amazing. So thank you very much for your time. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Every subscriber I get, I really appreciate, because it's going to eventually allow me to do things. I'm over 500 at the time that I'm doing this recording, or actually this is streaming out live, but I'm also, if you listen to this on the podcast, that will be coming out later. Everyone I get helps me attract manufacturers to helping out with this, because there's so much that no one person's going to be able to see everything, and hopefully I can help you save you from some of the research in this. So thank you very much for your time. Please subscribe to the channel. If you do happen to buy the TP.link router through the link that are in the show notes, I do get a small commission on that. It's not going to change your price at all. Anything you can do to help is appreciated. And we'll see you again soon.